Hi, I'm Jimi Taylor. I'm on the Pensole program, and I'd like to present to you my final piece for the 3 weeks that I've been here. My brief for the Pensole this year was to design a women's lawn keeper's boot for summer parks and recreation employees to love. So basically I had to come up with an alternative to the standard steel toe cap safety boot that summer parks and recreation employees have to wear as a prerequisite for their uniform requirements. What I tried to look to do was specifically aim a boot towards the young female market, so we're talking 19 to 22 years old, somebody who's working for the Parks and Recreation Employment Department during their summer break from college. So basically we've got a casual employee who's more likely to be active and sporty because they're working in the outdoors, working out, cutting grass, I guess, getting outside and enjoying the sunshine. So try and reflect that consumer. I came up with a brand who I saw as basically branching into the labour wear market, but from a youthful standpoint. I wanted a brand that was really progressive, something that was slightly irreverent, that weren't afraid to shake up the traditional boundaries and see where you could push the work boot into a sort of more interesting headspace. So in doing so, I guess one of the first things I had to do was obviously look at the performance requirements of the boot. So as I stated, it's a prerequisite that you have to wear a steel toe cap boot to do this job professionally during the summer.
Right.
So I looked at the standard steel toe cap boot and thought, okay, well, what aspects of the boot do they actually need to do this job, and which ones can I maybe take away, make it more suitable to the work that's actually being done. So in looking at the performance, one of the key areas I looked into is endurance, because these people are actually they do 10-hour shifts and they're on their feet for up to 7 hours of those 10 hours. The next thing I looked at was a removable toe cap as opposed to a fixed in place toe cap, because I wanted the shoe to be a little bit more versatile, so it was something that they could do a little bit more in than just turn up to work and do their job.
Okay.
And also the next thing I looked at was flexibility and protection within the shoe. So standard steel toe cap boots are very stiff, very rigid, bulky, and I wanted to bring that back down again with the female consumer in mind.
Okay.
But also generally in terms of providing a shoe that was a little bit more versatile than your normal steel toe cap.
Now, what was the price point that you come up for this?
So this is a $110 shoe, and that was basically based on some research in terms of the current price of some of the more popular brands that were being worn in that market.
Okay.
So after looking at those initial insights, the three key fundamentals of the design that I guess I homed in on were a theme of protection, a theme of endurance, and a theme of versatility.
Yeah.
So with those three fundamentals in mind, I then basically started looking into some options for the design. So initially I basically looked at a few different ways in which we could have some removable modular components to the design, such as a removable toe cap, changeable protection to the metatarsals and shins, so something that can flip up and flip down to offer more protection. Again, another sort of removable shin guard configuration.
Kevlar weave.
Yeah, with a Kevlar weave to offer, again, looking at how I can make the protection more lightweight and less bulky. Another option I looked at was some kind of steel arch system whereby you have removable metal support structures which cocoon the foot, so protect it from any potential impact. So just working through those options, I basically worked through some various thumbnails, exploring concepts, seeing what could and couldn't be done, and then eventually started developing these up into some more finished designs.
Now I see this design is actually taller. This and this one are taller designs.
Yeah.
What made you stop and go down with the
So the idea
design?
was basically this design was to offer extra shin protection to a current shoe, so that the protection would go right up to almost just below your knee.
Yeah.
However, after I guess working the design through slightly further, I decided that it wasn't necessarily it wasn't really that required to have that extra shin protection. It would be nice, but
it's not a necessary
It's
thing.
not necessary, and in terms of my goal of making the shoe light and versatile and easy to wear, by adding this, I think it would probably take away from that comfort story.
Okay. So what do we got here?
This is, I guess, as I'm getting closer to the final version. So you can see by the shin protection now is slightly coming down, so it's more lower shin protection. I've sort of steered back after looking at a few more unusual silhouettes. I've steered back to a more traditional work boot look.
Yes.
And this was after some of the feedback and critiques. And again, I guess part of exploring the design is to go all the way out to an extreme and then maybe bring it back if you feel it was necessary. So I decided to have something that was very close to a standard work boot with some subtle changes.
Now this says rain garter.
Yeah, so one, I decided to drop the shin guard. One thing I did decide which would be great to bring into the final design would be the ability to have a removable rain garter, which would make the shoe completely waterproof if you were caught in a downpour. Or if you're not in a downpour, like I said, if you move over to the final design, you'll see what I've got here is basically a waterproof lower rand on the upper.
Okay.
And then the whole top section of the upper is a breathable boot.
So this part is waterproof, this is breathable. Now does the toe cap still come off?
Yeah, so you see here, one rendering here is basically the shoe without the toe cap on.
Yes.
And then this is the removable toe cap
okay.
in
Now,
place.
yes.
So yeah, those are the two principal configurations of the shoe. And then obviously if it was to pour with rain, you could add your rain garter as well.
That's real good for $110. You should make this for men as well.
So yeah, so then just basically exploring the different views and seeing what they look like.
Oh, let's get some materials as well.
Yeah, so the materials down here were basically the materials we put for the upper on the shoe. We've got basically a nice sort of suede material here.
Yes.
Now this suede would be specially treated with a stain repellent in certain areas.
So, yes.
Now the idea would be that if you scroll down here, the stain repellent would only be treated in a certain pattern on the shoe. So over time, as the shoe gets older, grass stains would build up on the shoe's upper.
Okay.
So after your first year, you might have a few grass stains appear, and then by the end of the life of the shoe, you'd realize that the grass stains were building up into a giraffe print pattern all over the upper of the shoe.
So that's why you have...
Yeah, so that's why I have the giraffe print. And if you can see, if you look closely at the rendering, you can see the giraffe print. So when you first buy the shoe, it'd be
that explains the giraffe and the rendering down here. That's what I want. Okay.
Exactly. So it'd be very subtle when you first buy the shoe, and over time the shoe would develop a character and some color and some life through all the time you'd be wearing it. So
let me ask you something about the class. What was the hardest part about this class, if there was a hard part?
Well, I guess there was loads of hard parts in terms of Dwayne obviously constantly pushing us a lot, which was really good, and constantly pushing us to come up with new ideas, not to just, I guess, come up with one idea and then just draw it 10 different ways. Every day we had to say, okay, well, 10 new concepts, and then you come up with 10 new concepts. He wants to see progression in those concepts. So the whole thing was just to constantly challenge yourself and make sure you didn't just fit into a comfort zone where you came in and just rendered something that looked pretty. So I guess the hardest challenging thing was to really think through the manufacturing of the shoe and think through some of the technical issues, which is probably a lot more than people generally do when they're just doing designs, I guess, for their own amusement or for competition.
Let me ask you something. Doing this and, figuring out the materials, you want it to be durable, breathable. Will this change the way you buy certain things as far as in boots or, winter boots or clothing or certain things?
I think definitely.
Would you look at the quality different before you purchase?
Yeah, I think after doing the course, it definitely gives you a lot more appreciation for what goes into making a piece of footwear. And I guess before you get that level of insight, you just basically go on what looks cool, what sort of speaks to you in that sense. But then after doing this, you learn to look beyond that, and I guess, okay, it may look cool, but like you said, what materials is it made of? How well is it put together?
Exactly.
Has it been thought through? What are the insights, what the innovations the shoes can offer me? So yeah, I think it definitely flips your perspective in a lot of things, and you have just a whole new appreciation for the depth of thought that goes into the shoes you put on your feet, which is, I guess, the reason why you come on this course. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you. You have a really good project. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.